Welcome to Winning Policies, Win Elections, our Election Day Live about the power and the impact of policy in elections. My name is Brianna Carmen. I'm the political director here at Emerge. I'm so excited to have you all here. As we are waiting for folks to join us and hop on, I just want to remind everyone that Emerge is going to go live one more time today. 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, so mark your calendar, whichever coast you're on, you definitely don't want to miss it. And again, want to share a warm welcome to Winning Policies, Win Elections. I want to welcome you all on behalf of the Emerge team. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by Dawn Huckelbridge, Director of Paid Leave for All, and Leslie Herod, Emerge alum, Colorado State Rep, running for Mayor of Denver in 2023, and also part of our inaugural cohort of Seated Together, an advanced candidate training for Black women. So Dawn, would love to start with you. First, we're going to hear from you as Director of Paid Leave for All. We know that the United States is the only wealthy country in the world without guaranteed paid parental leave at the national level. That means only 23% of US workers have access to paid leave through an employer, and only 40% have access to short-term disability insurance. The consequences of that is nearly 1 in 4 employed mothers must return to work within 2 weeks of giving birth, which is insane. And 1 in 5 retirees must leave the workforce earlier than planned to care for an ill family member. So that's where you come in as our first guest. As I mentioned, you are the Director of Paid Leave for All. So Dawn, please tell us more about your organization and what you all are working to achieve.
Happy to. And first of all, of course, thank you for having me. It's an honor. I've been a friend of Emerge for many years, was involved with Emerge Massachusetts, and I, of course, know Leslie, and we've worked together in the past too. So this is such a thrill. But yes, I am the Director of Paid Leave for All, and today I'm here in my capacity as the Director of Paid Leave for All Action. And we are the national campaign of the organizations who've been leading the fight for paid family and medical leave in the United States, which, as you said, we are one of the only countries in the world that doesn't guarantee any form of paid leave for its workers. Right. And I think it's important to say that there's often confusion about what paid leave actually means. And yes, there are different kinds of paid leave technically. There's bereavement leave, there's vacation, but I want to be very clear, we're not talking about vacation here. We are talking about paid family and medical leave, which is ensuring that you keep a paycheck, that you can keep working when you're going through a serious health condition, or a loved one is, or you're welcoming a new child to the family. So this is something that is common sense. It is something that most of the world takes for granted. We are one of, I believe, 6 countries, that's including Papua New Guinea and a few smaller island nations, who don't have any form of paid leave. And we're all paying that cost. Families lose over $20 billion every year because they don't have access to paid leave. Businesses are suffering. They're paying turnover costs. They're losing good talent. We know that when there is paid leave in place, we know this from the states, 11 states and the District of Columbia have now passed paid leave. We know that it is good for businesses' bottom lines, that it increases productivity, performance, and profitability, that it keeps workers happier, it keeps families afloat, it's good for public health, overall economic growth, and I will say racial and gender equity too. This is really a foundational issue that leads to so many other opportunities or inequities in this country, and we are fighting to finally change it. We've come really close. We were 1 vote away from getting this passed last year, and we believe this is overdue, and its time has come, and we are still in it to win it, and we hope to do that very soon.
Amazing. We are in it to win it. And I think, during the pandemic, a broader section of the population realized how important paid leave is, whether you yourself get sick, whether, like you mentioned, you're inviting a new family member into the world, or you're caring for sick loved ones. That is work, and people don't typically consider it to be work, but, it's emotionally draining, it's financially draining, and, it's the right thing to do to have paid leave for all. And so, as you mentioned, you gave a definition. Usually when people hear it, they think of it as an umbrella term. But what sort of policies explicitly are you trying to advance there?
Yeah, so I touched on this a little bit, but yes, we are looking to finally pass a federal law that includes national family leave, personal medical leave, caregiving leave. So again, if you or a loved one is going through a serious health condition, sometimes it also covers military deployments. Sometimes it's covered safe leave if someone is experiencing stalking, assault. But it's just something that it guarantees that you can be there for the ones that you love, that you can heal and recover, that our country can keep growing and be competitive with others. And it's something that we should have done a long time ago. We should have had before this pandemic. And it's something that I really hope we will have learned after kind of getting through this and surviving it, how important this is to each of us and how connected we all are, how we are actually only as safe as our most vulnerable coworkers or neighbors, and the protections that they have actually impact us too.
Right. And, you talked about this policy being impactful for everyone, for, healthy communities, healthy families. And have you all done any polling research? Do you know who supports these policies?
Have we done research? Yes, we've done a lot. And we actually did some very recently. We went to the midterm battleground states, and we found that 81% of battleground voters want a national paid leave policy. And we've seen the numbers go up dramatically. While paid leave has always been one of the most widely supported policies in the country, it's gone up in battleground states by double digits over the last year.
Wow.
We've seen it was 3/4 of independent voters, 68% of Republicans. I mean, this is something that really unites people in this country. It's something that particularly motivates women of all parties, key persuadable groups. I think Blacks that a lot of candidates are chasing right now, independent women in particular, suburban women, non-college women, and of course the progressive base. So urgency has gone up, support has gone up, intensity has gone up, and we're seeing record highs. We went to North Carolina, for instance, 88% of voters in North Carolina supported a federal paid leave law. And I know in Colorado, where it just recently passed for the first time on the ballot, thanks to the work of Representative Harrod and others, the Trump counties supported paid leave. So this is a wildly impactful and popular policy. And it's something that pertains to both freedom and family. And I'm hoping that more candidates aren't sleeping on this and are running on this and hopefully delivering.
For sure. And, I just want to hone in on this point where you talk about, voters across the board, whether they're in swing states, whether they are women, different ethnicities, different races. At Emerge, we always hear people say that, oh, women run on women's issues. And for us, it's important to say these aren't necessarily just women issues. These are issues for the community. When women get elected, they support, bills and policies that are good for everyone, not just one specific subset. And, as we talk about elections on election day, do you anticipate paid leave swinging any elections that you mentioned in those midterm states today?
So many thoughts. First of all, to your point about this not just being sort of a women's issue, it's often called social issue, soft issue. These are economic imperatives. Right. We know that if we pass paid leave with other care policies that kept more women in the workforce, it would actually yield millions of jobs, billions in wages, and trillions in GDP. So again, this is an economic imperative. We can't afford not to act in this country. In terms of how it's playing out as an election issue, we are doing our best to talk about that, to make sure that campaigns and candidates understand this, understand how this motivates voters. We've seen an uptick in mentions in debates, in speeches, in social media posts, and ads. But what's interesting is I think there are still a lot of men sort of controlling the political consulting classes. And I think there's often still an idea that, as you said, this is a women's issue. I think we're making a lot of progress. I think we're making a lot of progress of understanding how this pertains to men, how men are caregivers, how this pertains to also businesses and all kinds of other stakeholders. But I think we need to make more progress. We need to make sure that electeds and candidates see the urgency that the voters do, and that is playing out even larger on the political scene. But we've seen a lot of change, a lot of progress, and we're hopeful that that will lead to policy change too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that insight, Dawn. Next, we're going to hear from Representative Leslie Harrod, Emerge alum, seated together, cohort member, and Colorado State Rep running for Mayor of Denver this coming year in 2023. And so, Rep. Leslie Harrod, hi. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited to have you.
Hey,
Thank you. And I love the leopard. It's just amazing. Love it.
Yes,
If
thank
you lend it to me, I would be so happy. Um, you currently serve as a representative of Colorado's 8th State House District. You were first elected in 2016 as the first LGBTQ plus African American in the General Assembly. Since then, you haven't stopped. You've passed over 150 bills championing groundbreaking alternative policing programs, passing or managing tens of millions of dollars annually to treat mental health and substance use orders. So Rep. Herod, with all of that in mind, all that you've done, can you please tell us about the policy power in swinging elections from your experience in Colorado?
Absolutely. I mean, I think well, first, it's great to be here with you all at Emerge. I owe a lot of where I am today because of your support and also the support of the women in Seated Together. Also, Dawn, I mean, what we're talking about here with paid family leave would not be a reality if we weren't a democratically controlled legislature with so many women in leadership. I myself sit as the chair of the Appropriations Committee and on the Joint Budget Committee. And I know that when my colleagues brought forward the paid family leave plan, that was a good plan, a good idea, well thought out, that supports Colorado families from urban to rural, that we were going to move it forward. And I'm so proud of the leadership of Faith Winter, Matt Gray, and so many others that have been working on this doggedly for years. But I got to say, if it wasn't for Emerge and some of these policies that get us elected and keep us in these seats, we wouldn't be able to pass this bill. I mean, it was not supported on both sides of the aisle, although Democrats, Republicans, and independents, individuals and families do support paid family leave. We don't see that always play out in the Capitol buildings. And I think that's what people don't understand is if we don't keep our Democratic majorities, these ideas and policies, though they're supported across the board at high numbers, won't get the light of day in the Capitol because it's leadership that determines where things go. And so alongside of paid family leave in Colorado, we got rid of things like the tampon tax and the diaper tax. Those things were all democratically led and pushed. And as someone who is a caregiver for my mom now, I got to tell you, not paying tax on those products saves me quite a lot of money each month. And having paid family leave is something that I look to as I think beyond my legislative career, because I know that I'll be taking care of my mom, quite frankly, hopefully for a long time. It's my honor to be able to take care of her. And so these are things that we need to be productive members of society, to work. It's ridiculous that this country doesn't have it currently, but I know with the right leadership and with folks voting today for leadership that cares about these issues across the nation, that it will become something that happens in every state, and we will pass the law federally as well.
I love that little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you didn't catch that, today is election day. Please go vote. Check what time the polls close. If you're in line, do not leave. Please go vote. So Rep. Herod, you talked about so many important things, and you mentioned that a lot of these policies are supported by voters, by everyday people, but their representatives actually don't take up these bills that are quite popular with them. And, I would love to get some more examples. You mentioned the pink tax, just of some of these other policies that are incredibly popular where you live, and just how Democrats in the state ledge have been able to deliver on those policies and how important policy is to getting elected.
Absolutely. I mean, we can't, in this moment in time, I don't think we can have any conversation without talking about the right to an abortion and the right to make decisions about our own reproductive health care for ourselves. As a femme woman, it's really important for me to ensure that I have access to abortions throughout Colorado. And in Colorado, because we have that, it means more than just saying there's a law in the books that allows abortions. It means that we have providers, right, that are well paid for, that we have housing opportunities for folks who need to come into our urban areas to get access to reproductive health care. In Colorado, because of our majorities, we were able to put Roe and say that we are going to have access to abortions, and abortion is healthcare, period. We've fought that bill for over 20 hours on the House floor. And if we didn't have that Democratic control led by women and women of color, it wouldn't have happened. And there would be a lot of people who are unsure about what they needed to do to get the care they needed. And I'll say that for myself, my mom was OBGYN in the military. And I watched firsthand what happens when we're overseas and we didn't have access to safe abortions. People would come into her clinic because they went right off base, because you're going to have that abortion. And if it's unsafe, you're going to hurt yourself, right? They would come into her clinics, and my mom would have to tell them that either they lost their opportunity to have children again and start their family when they're ready, or that they're really lucky to be alive, quite frankly. And these are scenarios that we cannot create in our own country. And we know the outcome of limiting access to reproductive health care. Those who can afford it will still get it, and those who can't will suffer. These are the types of laws and policies that we put in place to protect everyday Coloradans, everyday Americans across this country when you elect the right people. You know, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that folks are proud of the work that Democrats have done, but feel like we've done enough, right? Feel like there's nothing more to protect. But as we've seen with the Supreme Court and the Dobbs decision, what we've seen with this whole critical race theory, where people don't want to teach history to their kids, history, history. You know, we know that we could really set this country back if we don't vote. We know that we can set this country back if we don't hold elected officials accountable to the promises they've made. And as many folks that say they're distancing themselves from the Trump administration, we know that that's what we're looking forward to again if we don't show up and activate. But here's the good news. Young people are leading the way again, and they're showing up at the polls right now. And that is exciting. Women and femmes are also leading and having these conversations. And what I've been proud to see is young white men who are being like, oh, no. I'm protecting my sister's rights to their own bodies too, you know, and showing up and voting as well. And so this is really exciting. And so I think today is one of those days where we're talking about the policies, we're talking about the votes, we're talking about the elections, but what we're going to see, I believe, are positive outcomes across the country, and then a real focus on implementation. You know, what is, we pass these laws, we pass these values, are they helping people's everyday lives? In places that we pass paid family leave, it helps people's everyday lives, right? We know that. We've got to keep doing that. We've got to keep lifting up the message that when women are elected, women and femmes, of course, are elected, that we pass policies that really do have that personal impact.
Of course. And I know when people talk about elections, they think, you know, vote with your wallet. They think how much gas costs, how much milk costs, how prices are going up. And you bring a really excellent point of connecting voting with your everyday life and what you would like to see. And I really want to go back and focus on abortion that you mentioned, right? For so long, people were afraid to say that word, even because they thought, you know, much like these political pundits or these white pollsters mentioned that, you know, it's a scary term that people don't want to mention it. And it's been really exciting to people nowadays boldly mention that they are for this policy, that it is healthcare, that it is a universal human right. And I would love to get your take, right? We saw in Kansas where this ballot measure passed, people protected abortion. Do you expect to see that today in some of these swing states or closer elections?
I do believe that that's going to make a difference. I mean, we've got Georgia where literally someone who does not support abortion has paid for them, right? It's like, for me, but not for you. It doesn't make any sense. And they're on the ballot, you know, so we've got to call out this hypocrisy. But I do think that that's going to drive folks to the polls as well. I think people know that their rights are on the line, you know, and I do think that people are going to turn out and say that not only my rights need to be protected, but so do yours. So does hers, so does theirs, you know. That's something that we really need to fight for. I think we'll see it. And if we don't, there'll be a backlash, right? I think that if we don't see the electorate go in the direction of that protection, right, of that reproductive freedom, of the freedom to take care of our own families, the freedom to have to leave work when we need to, freedom from the pink tax. I mean, all of these different things, right? That you will see a huge wave coming back at the presidential elections to make sure that we do have a progressive majority in the House, the Senate, and in the White House, but also at the local level. We know that a lot of the implementation happens right in our own backyards, in our local level. I mean, obviously, that's why I'm running for mayor, because it's not just about setting the policies, it's about making sure they impact the people. And so together with all branches of government, we can do that. And so for folks who still haven't turned in their ballot or still considering, you know, how to vote, all I ask you to do is vote the entire ballot. Don't just vote for the top of the ticket. Don't just vote for the folks you've seen in the ads and the commercials. Vote the entire ballot, because those policies that we talked about just now, those were all passed at the state level in Colorado and can be passed at the state level across the country. So we've got to make sure we're voting for those state reps, those local elections, everything on the ballot. It matters.
Yes, it does matter. Please vote up and down the ticket. And Rep. Harrod, I would love, as you, an Emerge alum, to hear a little bit about how Emerge training really impacted your journey and how you navigate running on policies that win elections.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I got to be honest. When Emerge first came to Colorado, I was on the advisory committee to get it going. And I was like, well, we've had a lot of different organizations, fits and starts, support running for office. What does this look like? And then I decided to run for office. And of course, it's because I was around all these amazing women who were running for office, but I didn't know if I was going to take the training. It seemed like a lot of time and a lot of investment when I thought I should be focusing on my race. But I did, because I wanted the Emerge checkmark by my name, that verification mattered. And so I got in the program thinking I knew all that I needed to know about how to run a race and win. And boy, was I wrong. I mean, literally the toolkit that we create together as an Emerge cohort to help us to victory is so, so consequential. I won with 20% of the vote. I won with the highest vote count in Colorado history for my race. Wow. And so that's because I built that coalition that Emerge helped me every step along the way build. And now as an elected official, I got to tell you, when I had the idea of creating Seated Together, which was a group of women who have been elected, who are talking about not just being in these seats, but where can we go in leadership? What's the next step? How do we continue to break that glass ceiling? I looked to Emerge alums and I said, who are we? And what is the support that we still need to have? And now we created Seated Together. We've got the minority leader, Joanna McClinton, out in Pennsylvania. We've got Amelia Sykes now running for Congress in Ohio.
Yep.
Lamar in Tennessee, Dallas in Nevada. I mean, we've got so many amazing people. Janelle in Oregon, Janelle Bynum. I mean, amazing women who are saying we're going to take not only that first step into office, but that next step into leadership, and we're going to keep going. And that's so amazing. So Emerge has not only empowered me to win my elections, it's empowered me to say, what's next?
Awesome. I love that. And yes, what is next? One of our 2035 goals is helping women lift as we climb. Yeah. So, as one candidate seeks a higher office, really creating a pipeline so another Emerge alum is available to run for that seat. So that way we don't sleep on policies. The work continues. Absolutely. And, we're coming down to our time. So I would love to, just see Dawn, Rep. Harrod, if there's any last minute messages that you want to share with the audience. Dawn, if you'd like to go first.
Sure. When I was listening, something that occurred to me as we did in this polling, so looking at how abortion rights and how family policies and paid leave interacted. And what was interesting is that voters understood, I think this is common sense, that these are all economic issues. Of course, they are about our bodily integrity and other things, but we're talking about gas or milk, what's really expensive? A baby. Yeah. And so when we talk about freedom and family, exactly as Leslie was saying, it's about the freedom to choose whether or not to have a family, to be able to sustain one at all. And so we found that the most powerful combination of issues and sort of a policy vision was both these family issues and abortion rights. And when you talked about them together, it gave an edge to that candidate, hypothetically, 56 points with suburban women. Wow. So I think that's something that is happening right now. We're talking about all these new voters. We know that a lot of them are young women voters, and they'll be turning out today. And I think this will be top of mind for them.
Yeah. And I'll just add that we are in a time now where political cycles are ongoing, so right. Just when we're done, we think we're done on Tuesday night, midnight, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. I don't know how long it's going to take to count all these results. The next one starts, right? So my race for mayor is in April. Municipals are coming right around the corner. We've got to vote not only the entire ticket, but every ballot. LeslieForMayor.com if you want more information on that. However, I will also say that we've got to make sure that we're looking to local elections everywhere. It's not even just about a pipeline, but it's about, what do you want your school board to look like? You know, who is running your city? Who's deciding, you know, what day your trash is getting picked up, how that interacts with, you know, how you got to get your kids to school, and just the everyday thing of your cities, and all the ballot measures. Mental health, right? Mental health is on the ballot across this country. Are we voting to support these types of services that we need for our families and ourselves? You know, make sure you get engaged. And then, of course, keep people accountable. Don't just sleep on folks after they get elected, right? We need to make sure they're accountable and lift up the good work that's being done. You know, if you're not following Dawn, follow Dawn today, you know, and make sure you know what's happening in your local area around paid family leave, and lift up those. If you already have paid family leave, great. Make sure you're helping a sister out in another state. There's so much work that we can do together. And when we do it together, we can fight through all the divisiveness, we can fight through all the vitriol, and we can get things done for our communities.
Absolutely. And women get things done.
Yes.
So Dawn, Rep-Harrod, thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you to the audience for joining Win Policies, Win Elections. So if you were wondering about that, I hope you've been convinced. Please go ahead and check out Dawn and Rep-Harrod. They do amazing work. And remember, Emerge is going live one more time today at 4 p.m. Eastern, when Emerge President Ashanti F. Golar will host Fatima Goss-Graves of National Women's Law Center, an Emerge alum, Virginia State Rep, Emerge Virginia Executive Director, fan of Metallica Yoga, so she tells me, Danica Rome, to talk about I want to do yoga with her.
Yeah.
She loves Metallica. Apparently you can do yoga to Metallica. I'm looking forward to it. And they'll be talking about civil rights at stake in this election, and your rights are on the ballot. So mark your calendars, set a timer. We'll see you all again soon. Dawn, Rep-Harrod, thank you all so, so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.